Hey guys, Corey Matthew here, also known as the Unprofessional Punk, here with a review of the first 3 episodes of Uzumaki. So this has been an anime that has slowly consumed my life. Between episode 2 and 3, I picked up the manga and finished it in about a night. So that's how dedicated I was to this, because I wanted to just know everything about it. And once reading the manga, I noticed a slight issue with the anime. Now, I had this issue prior to reading the manga when I was watching the first 2 episodes, and that had something to do with the pacing. Now, first of all, like I said, I wanted to get the praising out of the way. I do love this. I want to make that known that I'm trying not to be harsh about it. It's just something that I've noticed. And so, kind of breaking it down is, so between the manga and the episodes, you have episode 1, which covers chapter 1, 2, 3, and 8. But within that, they only cover the first part of chapter 2 and the first part of chapter 8. Now you go into episode 2 and you have chapter 5, 6, 7, the end of chapter 8, and then chapter 9, and then you go to episode 3, which is the end of chapter 1, chapter 4, 10, 11, 12, and 13, and to some extent episode 3, the last 2 minutes, also shows the ending of Jack in the Box. And that's kind of be the story of where a lot of this issue with the pacing comes from. So I understand that all these stories are happening simultaneously, and I believe this is all happening around a week. So it's 1 week and all of these events are happening at the same time. But while some make sense on why they're happening the same time, and some make sense why they're happening in the span of a few days, so that's why, so example of that is the snail. So chapter 8, they started chapter 8 in episode 1, and then they ended it in episode 2. That made sense on why it went between episodes. It's because it's the story of the transformation happens within the span, I believe, of 3 days, it feels like. Because each day, the transformation gets worse and worse on the one kid, eventually turns into the snail. But then you have stories like the Jack in the Box, where they actually cut a lot of the content. And the thing about it is, so this is chapter 7. This is personally one of my favorite stories, and it seems like a majority of the fan base believes that this is like the scariest, most disturbing story out there of the whole manga. And I agree, it's up there. So basically, the manga and anime don't differ too much of the beginning. What they do differ from is that him coming back as a corpse, and that one scene of, the spring coming out of his corpse as, he's walking towards the 2 main characters. While in the anime it felt like it didn't make sense, in the manga at least it did. Now, for those who didn't read the manga, how the story goes is after he gives the main girl the gift and then jumps in front of the car and dies, they have a couple panels in the manga about her looking at the gift, opening it, being the Jackbox, and then her on the phone with her boyfriend, and then suddenly, during the conversation between her and the boyfriend, you hear the Jack in the Box speak to her, saying, the 7th grader will come back, and seeing that this character died, and now the Jack in the Box is talking to her, and she informs her boyfriend about this. I don't know if this was his smart or dumbest decision this character has ever made, but they go to the cemetery, want to dig him up, and they're like, okay, we're going to kill him all over again. Well, they have the build-up of, them opening up, digging the hole, digging up the grave, and then prying the nails off the coffin, and blah, 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 and then hearing the noises, and then him popping up, and then, the stitches falling apart. That all happens, in one go. While in the anime, they had it kind of, in the beginning, and they had most of the story in episode 2, and then for some reason, the last 2 minutes of episode 3, they're reintroducing to him, but they didn't have the buildup of that phone call of, he will be back. He's coming for you. And so, that was kind of my little issue with it, and that from reading chapter 7 in the manga and then seeing it play out in episode 2 and 3, it was just a little off for me. And I don't want to focus on the negative. I just wanted to, share my thoughts about it, because this is a phenomenal anime. I really do like analyzing it, and I'm going down this rabbit hole of trying to understand, like, the ancient curse of the spiral, and like, what does it mean? Is there like a a social take on this? I'm watching this one video on like how Umazaki represents, like, radiation, and like a town that is like affected by radiation poisoning. So like it's very fascinating, like, seeing the story unfold, but at the same time the pacing really brings me out of it, and I want to really love this anime, and I do. I can't wait for season 4. I can't stop talking about it. But I've just noticed between me, I showed my girlfriend this show. She also said that the show is kind of all over the place. And I talked to 2 other friends. One friend is in agreement with me and my girlfriend. And then I do have one friend who says actually the pacing's not that bad. He thinks that it's going really well. So it's a give or take. Like, it depends on how much of it you like, the pacing, But it's also, I understand that adaptations are sometimes hard to bring to life. I know I look at Stephen King and a lot of his work, and sometimes his work is very, very hard to adapt into movies and TV shows. So I don't know if this this manga had maybe a similar issue, but I do want to know your guys' thoughts. Are you really liking the anime like me, or are you liking it but the pacing is off, or is it that the pacing is maybe why you don't want to watch it? Did you read the manga? Just put your questions or anything in the comments, and I'll try to get to them. Please like and subscribe to this channel if you want more content like this. I know I don't review as much as I used to, but I thought this would be something really fun to talk about, especially for spooky season. And it's an anime that, like I said, consumed my life. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.